morning. I've just reviewed the data from the tremor in Carterton earlier today. It registered as a magnitude 1.2 at about 50 kilometers depth.
Morning. Yes, I saw that. It's quite minor, but it's interesting because it's along the Wairarapa fault line. Do you think it could be a precursor to something larger?
It's possible, but given its magnitude and depth, it seems unlikely to lead to anything significant. These small tremors happen fairly regularly along that fault.
True, but it's always good to keep an eye on these things. The Wairarapa fault has been quiet for a while, though.
Agreed. I'll flag it for monitoring just in case there's any increase in activity. But for now, I'd say we can brush it off as just another minor tremor.
Sounds good. Let's update the logs and keep the team informed if anything changes.
Will do. I'll make sure we have the sensors calibrated properly in case there's more activity.
Perfect. Thanks for catching that so quickly.
No problem. Let's hope it stays quiet.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by the New Zealand Civil Defence in collaboration with GeoNet, transmitted by TVNZ and local television stations at 12:41 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time on the 21st of October 2026. This broadcast is being aired to residents in the Lower Manawatu-Whanganui region and surrounding areas. If you are receiving this message, please pay close attention and follow all instructions provided. At 12:37 p.m. today, a magnitude 5.8 earthquake struck the Lower Manawatu-Whanganui region, centered near Leven at a depth of 35 kilometers. The earthquake caused significant ground shaking and has led to widespread road slips and infrastructure damage. A tsunami advisory has been issued for coastal areas, and evacuations are underway in Leven and Foxton. Residents are advised to drop, cover, and hold during any aftershocks. Stay indoors if it is safe to do so, and avoid running outside due to the risk of falling debris. If you are near the coast and feel strong shaking, move immediately to higher ground or as far inland as possible. Evacuations are currently taking place in Leven and Foxton. If you are instructed to evacuate, do so calmly and follow designated routes. Avoid using bridges or tunnels that may have been compromised by the earthquake. Stay tuned to local radio for updates on evacuation centers. A tsunami advisory is in effect for most coastal areas along the Kapiti coast, including the following: Himatangi Beach, Foxton Beach, Waiatari Beach, Hokio Beach, Waikawa Beach, Otaki Beach, Toro Beach, Peka, and Waikani Beach. Residents should be aware of natural warning signs such as unusual sea behavior or rapid water level changes. Move to higher ground immediately if you observe these signs or receive an official warning. Several highways and roads in the region are currently inaccessible due to slips and damage, including State Highway 1 and State Highway 57. Avoid traveling unless absolutely necessary, and keep roads clear for emergency vehicles. Power outages have been reported. Do not touch down power lines. Check yourself and others for injuries once it is safe to do so. Use protective clothing when moving through debris. If you smell gas or see sparks, turn off utilities if safe to do so and report any hazards to authorities. This concludes the emergency broadcast from New Zealand Civil Defence. We thank you for your attention and cooperation during this critical time. Remember to stay informed through reliable sources as we work together to ensure everyone's safety. Please remain vigilant and prepared for further updates. Your safety is our priority, and we appreciate your understanding as we navigate this emergency situation together. Stay safe, stay informed, and take care of each other.
We interrupt our regular programming to bring you breaking news. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake struck the lower Manawatu-Wanganui region at 12:41 p.m. today, centered near Leven. The tremor has caused extensive damage across the area, with reports of road slips and infrastructure failures. Emergency services are currently assessing the situation, and a tsunami advisory has been issued for coastal regions, urging residents to move to higher ground immediately. The main thoroughfare, Oxford Street, is partially blocked due to fallen debris from nearby shops. In addition, State Highway 1 has been affected by slips, particularly near the Ohau River Bridge, making travel hazardous. The iconic Horohenua Events Center has also reported damage to its roof. As of now, local authorities are coordinating evacuations in Leven and Foxton, where significant disruptions have occurred. Residents are advised to avoid travel unless absolutely necessary due to hazardous road conditions. The Civil Defense team are working diligently to restore order and ensure public safety. In other news,
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining on such short notice. As you know, we've been monitoring increased seismic activity in the lower Hutt and upper Hutt areas over the past few days. The data suggests we may need to consider evacuation protocols. Right, we've noticed the uptick as well. The tremors have been more frequent and slightly stronger than usual. What are the latest readings from your seismographs? We recorded several tremors last night, with the largest reaching a magnitude of 4.2. While these are not uncommon for their region, the frequency is concerning. It's important we prepare for the possibility of a larger event.
Perhaps. I mean, given Wellington's geological history, especially with the Wellington Fault nearby, we should be proactive. The last major rupture was over 300 years ago, and while the chances of a large quake soon are low, we cannot afford to be complacent.
What would be your recommendation for an evacuation timeline? If we decide to act, we need to ensure it's communicated effectively to residents. We don't want to cause panic and civil disruption otherwise. I'd recommend we initiate a precautionary evacuation for high-risk areas in Lower Hutt and Upper Hutt. This should include densely populated neighborhoods and those near known fault lines. We can issue alerts through local media and emergency services.
That sounds fair. We should probably also prepare to set up evacuation centers and ensure that essential services are ready to assist displaced residents. Communication will be key to keeping the public informed.
We need to monitor aftershocks closely and provide ongoing updates about any changes in seismic activity. We can use our networks to disseminate information quickly if conditions worsen.
I'll coordinate with our team to ensure all monitoring equipment is functioning optimally and that we have real-time data available for analysis. We need to keep everyone informed as this situation develops.
Thank you all for your insights. Let's finalize our action plan and prepare for an announcement later today.
Warning. This is not a test. This is an emergency evacuation advisory issued by New Zealand Civil Defence due to increased seismic activity in the region. As of today, October 22nd, 2026, we advise all residents to prepare for potential evacuation as a precautionary measure against future earthquakes. Please stay tuned for further updates and instructions. Recent seismic monitoring has indicated heightened activity along the Wellington Fault, which poses a risk of significant earthquakes in the coming days. Areas particularly at risk include the suburbs of Wellington, Nini, and parts of central Lower Hutt. Residents in these areas should remain alert and be ready to evacuate if necessary. In addition to earthquake risks, residents living near the coastline and low-lying areas should be aware of potential tsunami threats. Coastal neighborhoods such as Eastbourne and Petone are particularly vulnerable to tsunami inundation. If you are in these areas, please move to higher ground immediately if you feel strong shaking or receive further alerts. Landslides may also occur in hilly regions following seismic events. Areas such as Wainomata Hill and parts of the Hutt Valley are prone to landslides during heavy shaking. Avoid traveling through these regions unless absolutely necessary, and stay clear of steep slopes and cliffs. We urge all residents to have an emergency plan in place. Ensure you have essential supplies ready, including food, water, medications, and important documents. Designate a meeting point for your family in case you need to evacuate quickly. Further updates will be provided as we monitor the situation closely. Please remain vigilant and prepared for immediate action. Thank you for your cooperation in keeping our community safe.
Attention! This is an emergency broadcast issued by the Nelson Regional Council along with Civil Defence. Please stand by for important information regarding an active emergency occurring within your area. This broadcast has been issued as of 11:40 am New Zealand Standard Time on the 24th of October 2026 and transmitted by TVNZ. Please stay tuned. Roughly 13 minutes ago at 11:27 am New Zealand Standard Time, a magnitude 7.1 earthquake has occurred along the Upper South Island roughly 27 miles inland from the Cook Strait, with the epicenter located within the Wairau Valley. As of this time, the earthquake has been felt as far north as Wellington and as far south as Kaikoura. In order to ensure your immediate safety, Civil Defense along with National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research have issued an immediate tsunami evacuation order for all areas within a range of 5 to 10 kilometers inland of the Cook Strait. It is expected that tsunami waves may be imminent. The following areas have been marked as being in immediate danger of being impacted by a tsunami wave. These areas include Nelson, Picton, Havelock, Richmond, Mapua, Motueka, Kaiteri Teri, Golden Bay, Takaka, Renwick, Blenheim, and Seddon. If your area of residence has been mentioned, ensure the following instructions. Leave all belongings behind except for your emergency evacuation kit and seek high ground roughly a minimum of 10 meters above sea level. For all maritime vessels off the coast of these areas, dock inland immediately. If you are unable to dock in time, ensure that you, if you are able to, ride around or over tsunami waves before they crest. For all residents in affected areas, do not return back to low-lying areas until the all-clear broadcast has been issued through your mobile phones or radios. Only bring pets with you if you have the time. Avoid evacuation by vehicle and instead use alternative means to minimize traffic in the area which may put more lives at risk. Instead, use a bike or on foot. You are not able to outrun these tsunami waves. Be prepared for further aftershocks and take care to avoid cracks and fallen debris upon returning to your area. Stay up to date with all the latest updates from Civil Defense and the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research regarding this situation, and ensure that you visit our website for further information. This has been an emergency broadcast from Civil Defense and NIWA at 11 AM New Zealand Standard Time. Thank you for your diligent attention and good luck.
This is News Hub at 12. We interrupt your regular programming to bring you some breaking news. A magnitude 7.1 earthquake has struck the Upper South Island today, causing catastrophic damage to the area, including a tsunami which swamped several areas. We are getting word that at least 10 people have died so far, with most of which killed from the earthquakes themselves and 3 bodies recovered from the tsunami waves. We are also receiving word of liquefaction within populated areas such as Nelson and Blenheim, where entire suburbs are rendered as inaccessible due to severe liquefaction. Along with that, forest fires and landslides have also occurred as a result of infrastructure failures within the affected areas, such as toppled power lines and roads being inaccessible. Civil Defence along with the New Zealand government have declared a full-scale state of emergency for the entire Cook Strait area. We are receiving further details about the tsunami aftermath. The Inter-Islander ferry has reportedly been beached at Picton due to the force of the tsunami waves, stranding passengers and crew on board. The port area has sustained significant damage, with docks submerged and vessels pushed far inland.
Bob, did you hear what happened today?
Yeah, I did.
This means one thing and one thing only. GeoNet was right. Their predictions are accurate and the Wellington fault line is activating. We could be expecting the big one at any moment.
Right, I'm aware.
We need to issue a state of evacuation advisory not just for Lower Hutt but for the entire greater area including Wellington.
I agree. We will make a public statement tomorrow along with updating the website on areas most at risk.
Not just that, but also arranging with the Wellington Council about future potential damage costs, public shelters, emergency housing, and preparing every business and every resident in Wellington for the prospect of losing their homes and jobs.
We should also consider the potential infrastructure damage as well. How well can the area recover?
Exactly. Listen, I'll arrange a meeting with the council tomorrow and then issue the statement. You take care of broadcasting it to the public.
Alright then. Sounds good.
This is an emergency broadcast from Civil Defence, GEM, and the Wellington Regional Emergency Management Office at 9:17 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time on the 25th of October 2026. A state of emergency has been declared for the Wellington area following a catastrophic earthquake. Residents are advised to remain calm and follow instructions closely. Please stay tuned to this frequency for updates and critical information regarding the ongoing situation. A magnitude 9.1 earthquake struck near Poira at 9:15 a.m. today at a depth of 20 kilometers. The tremors have been felt across the entire Wellington region and as far as Upper Hutt and Kapiti Coast, causing widespread devastation. Initial reports indicate that many structures, including skyscrapers in the Wellington CBD, have collapsed, leading to significant casualties and damage. In the event of an earthquake, it is crucial to drop, cover, and hold on until the shaking stops. If you're indoors, find shelter under a sturdy table or desk. If you're outside, move away from buildings, trees, and power lines before dropping to the ground. Do not attempt to run outside during the shaking as falling debris poses a serious risk. After the shaking subsides, check yourself for injuries and assist those around you if safe to do so. If you can safely evacuate your building without risking further injury, gather essential items such as medications, water, and important documents. Avoid using elevators. Instead, use stairs to exit if necessary. As of now, areas at risk of a tsunami include the Wellington Harbour, Kapiti Coast, west coast of the North Island, and parts of the South Island's east coast. If you're located in these areas, prioritize your safety by moving inland and upward immediately. Please avoid using personal vehicles unless absolutely necessary to prevent traffic congestion. Public transportation services have been suspended. However, emergency shuttles will be deployed to assist with evacuations to safe zones. Follow instructions from emergency personnel and remain patient as they coordinate rescue efforts. As of now, preliminary estimates indicate thousands of casualties across affected areas with significant destruction reported in central Wellington. Key landmarks like Tekapā Museum and the Beehive have sustained severe damage. Emergency services are working tirelessly to assess the situation and provide assistance. We appreciate your cooperation during this difficult time. Stay tuned for further updates and instructions as we continue to monitor the situation closely. Please stay informed through official channels and remain vigilant for updates regarding safety measures and recovery efforts in the Wellington area. Stay safe and take care of each other during this crisis.
This is not a test. The National Emergency Broadcasting System has been activated at the request of the New Zealand Government along with Civil Defence and being issued by TVNZ at 9:25 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time. This is a national emergency and your full attention is required. Please stand by. A catastrophic earthquake has struck the Lower Hutt regional area, registering a magnitude of 9.1, centered near Porirua at a depth of 20 kilometers. The quake occurred at 9:15 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time, and its shockwaves have been felt across the entire country, from the North Island to the South Island. Reports indicate widespread destruction, with significant infrastructure damage and an estimated death toll in the thousands, as emergency services mobilize to assess the situation. Flight operations have been severely impacted, with all flights to and from Wellington Airport suspended indefinitely due to damage to runways and terminal buildings. Airports across the country are experiencing delays and cancellations as air traffic control works to assess safety. If you are at an airport, please remain calm and await further instructions from airline staff regarding your travel plans. Coastal areas throughout New Zealand are under tsunami warnings, particularly along the west coast of the North Island, lower east coast of the North Island, and parts of the South Island's east coast. Residents in these regions should evacuate to higher ground immediately. Emergency services within the lower North Island are reporting that many roads have been rendered impassable due to landslides and structural collapses.
Citizens are advised to avoid traveling unless absolutely necessary. If you encounter damaged infrastructure, please report it to local authorities using emergency hotlines established for this disaster. As of now, there is no confirmed information regarding the whereabouts of the Prime Minister, who was present in Wellington at the time of the quake. The government is working diligently to gather information and coordinate responses across all regions affected by this disaster. Current estimates suggest that thousands may be trapped or injured across various regions. With emergency responders facing challenges reaching some areas due to ongoing aftershocks and hazardous conditions. Stay tuned for updates on rescue operations and safety measures being implemented nationwide. Thank you for your attention during this critical broadcast. Your safety is our primary concern. Please stay informed through official channels for further updates on this evolving situation, and remember, if you feel strong shaking or receive tsunami alerts, move immediately to higher ground.
Systems to bring you some breaking news. A magnitude 9.1 earthquake has struck Wellington today, causing immense damage within the surrounding area and triggering tsunami alerts around low-lying coastal areas within the lower North Island. We have word that entire buildings within the Wellington CBD have collapsed, along with the Beehive completely collapsed and the Prime Minister's whereabouts unknown. We now go live to one of our reporters down in Wellington at the moment. Due to technical difficulties, we are only able to communicate with him over the radio. Brian, what can you tell us?
Hello, I'm live in Wellington right now, where it looks unrecognizable as the aftermath of the earthquake is evident everywhere. As I look around, I can see emergency crews responding to reports of trapped individuals in various locations. The atmosphere is tense. People are understandably shaken and confused. Eyewitness accounts describe a violent shaking that lasted for what felt like an eternity, with many saying it was the strongest quake they have ever experienced.
That sounds terrifying, Brian. Can you give us word on the transportation matters there?
Transportation has been severely disrupted nationwide. Flights to and from Wellington Airport have been suspended due to damage to infrastructure. Other airports across New Zealand are experiencing delays as air traffic control assesses safety protocols. Rail services have also been halted as inspections for track displacement are underway. Power also appears to be out everywhere.
I see. What about tsunami warnings?
The National Emergency Management Agency has confirmed that all coastal regions are at risk, particularly those along the Wellington Harbour, Kapiti Coast, and the west coast of the North Island. Residents in these areas should be prepared for powerful waves that could reach heights of up to 8 meters or more, depending on proximity to the earthquake's epicenter.
Right. Where are most survivors planning to go to at the moment?
Many people are being directed to community emergency hubs, which have been set up across the region to provide shelter and assistance. These hubs are located in various community centres and schools, ensuring that those displaced can find safe refuge. In Lower Hutt, specific hubs include the Lower Hutt Event Centre and Nini Community Hall, both of which are equipped to accommodate evacuees. Residents are encouraged to bring essential supplies such as food, water, and personal items, but they should prioritise their safety and evacuate promptly.
It appears we've lost Brian from the air. Let's hope he is safe like everyone else, and we will continue to update you on this developing situation.
This is an emergency early warning broadcast from Civil Defence, transmitted by RNZ at 9:45 am on October 25, 2026. This advisory is being aired on all emergency frequencies across the Kapiti Coast region. Residents in the areas of Paraparaumu, Raumati, Waiikani, and Otaki are strongly urged to pay attention to this message regarding the tsunami threat following recent seismic activity. A tsunami warning has been issued due to a significant earthquake that struck near Wellington very shortly ago. Initial reports indicate that waves could reach heights of up to 8 to 12 meters, with a speed of approximately 80 kilometers per hour as they approach the coastline. The wavelength is expected to vary based on local topography, but residents should not underestimate the potential for rapid inundation. Residents in low-lying areas along the coast, particularly those in Paraparaumu Beach, Raumati South, and Otaki, are at the highest risk of tsunami impact. If you live in these regions, it is critical to evacuate immediately to higher ground or inland areas. Move away from the beach and any coastal structures, as they may be vulnerable to flooding. When evacuating, please pack essential items including water, food supplies, medications, and important documents. If you have pets, ensure they are secured and brought with you. Aim for locations that are at least 10 meters above sea level and at least 1 kilometer inland from the coastline to ensure your safety from potential wave action. For those in Waiikani, it is advised to head towards the hills or designated evacuation centers located further inland. Avoid traveling through flooded areas or down power lines, as these pose significant hazards. Stay informed through local news channels and emergency broadcasts for further updates on this situation. This concludes our emergency advisory for the Kapiti Coast. Please remain vigilant and continue to monitor official channels for updates until an all-clear signal is issued. Your safety is our top priority. Act quickly and stay safe.
We are coming to you live with breaking news from the Kapiti Coast. Just 20 minutes after the devastating 9.1 magnitude earthquake struck near Wellington. Civil Defence has issued an all-clear signal for some affected areas, allowing residents to return to their homes. However, the situation remains dire along the Kapiti Coast, where catastrophic flooding has occurred, leaving most buildings submerged and power lines downed, electrifying the water in many locations. Initial assessments indicate that the damage is extensive, with hundreds of homes affected and fires breaking out in higher ground areas due to compromised infrastructure. Tragically, early estimates suggest that the death toll could reach into the hundreds as emergency services work tirelessly to assess the full extent of the devastation. Residents in low-lying areas such as Paraparaumu Beach and Raumati South are urged to stay vigilant and avoid flooded zones.
This is a TVNZ-issued regional emergency update broadcast for Wellington. We are currently airing on all major frequencies, including TVNZ1, TVNZ2, and radio channels all across the area. This broadcast is intended to provide critical updates regarding the recent catastrophic earthquake that struck near Porila this morning. Please remain tuned in for essential information on evacuation routes, affected areas, and safety measures. As of now, the magnitude 9.1 earthquake has caused widespread devastation across the region. Emergency services are reporting significant structural damage, with many buildings in Wellington collapsing. The latest estimates indicate that there are at least 1,200 confirmed fatalities, with numbers expected to rise as rescue operations continue and assessments of affected areas are conducted. Evacuation routes have been established for those in high-risk zones. Residents are advised to use the following routes. From Lower Hutt, head towards the Hutt Valley Highway. From Upper Hutt, proceed to State Highway 2. Please avoid using local roads that may be blocked or unstable due to landslides and debris. If you are in coastal areas such as Eastbourne and Petone, evacuate to higher ground immediately due to Tucson and the warnings. Current reports indicate that aftershocks are likely, with several already recorded in the vicinity of 4.5 to 5.0 magnitude. Residents should remain vigilant and prepared for additional shaking. Emergency services have set up refugee camps at various locations, including the Sky Stadium and Tater College, where those displaced can find shelter and assistance. Areas particularly affected by potential Tucson and the waves include the Wellington Harbour, Kapiti Coast, and the west coast of the North Island. If you live in these regions, please prioritize your safety by moving inland and following instructions from local authorities. Thank you for tuning into this emergency broadcast. Your safety is our top priority, and we encourage everyone to stay informed through official channels as we continue to monitor this developing situation. Please take care of yourselves and each other during this challenging time.
This is an emergency broadcast issued by Civil Defence and the Nelson Regional Council in response to a significant aftershock that occurred at 2:50 p.m. today, October 25, 2026. This alert is being broadcast across all emergency frequencies, including Radio Live 93.8 FM and News Talk ZB 100.2 FM. Please remain calm and listen carefully to the following instructions. The recent aftershock registered at a magnitude of 8.2 and has been felt strongly throughout the Nelson region and surrounding areas, including Motueka, Richmond, and parts of the Marlborough Sounds. Seismologists have indicated that this aftershock occurred approximately 80 kilometers from the original earthquake epicenter near Wellington. Residents are advised to prepare for potential further seismic activity as the situation develops. A tsunami advisory has been issued for coastal areas along the Tasman Bay, with residents urged to seek higher ground immediately. The New Zealand police have declared a prohibition on entering any structures deemed unsafe due to critical infrastructure damage. This includes buildings in low-lying coastal areas and those near steep slopes that may be prone to landslides. Emergency services are mobilizing to assess damage and provide assistance where needed. Residents are reminded to stay away from beaches and waterfronts until further notice, as tsunami waves may arrive within minutes following seismic events. If you are near the coast, evacuate to designated safe zones immediately. The local police have established checkpoints to ensure public safety and monitor access to affected areas. Please comply with all directives from emergency personnel and avoid unnecessary travel unless instructed otherwise. Emergency shelters are being set up in safe locations across Nelson, including community centers and schools. Stay tuned for further updates from Civil Defence, and please prioritize your safety by moving to higher ground if you are in a vulnerable area.
Good evening. This is One News at 6. We bring you the latest updates following the devastating earthquake that struck near Wellington earlier today. As of now, authorities have confirmed that 1,980 bodies have been recovered, with the death toll expected to rise exponentially as rescue efforts continue. Most of the Wellington area remains inaccessible, with all flights to the capital grounded and travel to the region prohibited for civilian vehicles. Only emergency personnel and authorized organizations are allowed entry into the affected zones. Seismologists are reporting that the initial quake registered a magnitude of 9.1, followed by a significant aftershock measuring 8.2 just hours later. The impact has been catastrophic, with infrastructure severely damaged and entire neighborhoods left in ruins. Emergency services are working tirelessly to locate survivors, but the challenging conditions and ongoing aftershocks are complicating their efforts.
This is a radio broadcast issued by the Department of Conservation and Fire and Emergency New Zealand regarding severe wildfires in the lower North Island. This broadcast has been issued at 8:20 p.m. today, October 25th, 2026, and is being transmitted on all major radio frequencies, including 101.3 FM and 92.5 FM. Areas affected include the Upper Hutt Valley, the Kiritayi Forest, Featherston, Ware-Irarapa, Rimutaka Hill, and Western Lake. A significant forest fire has erupted in the Kiritayi Forest due to recent earthquake damage, burning thousands of hectares. The fire is spreading rapidly towards Featherston and Ware-Irarapa, with Rimutaka Hill and Western Lake at high risk of being enveloped. Smoke from these wildfires is expected to cover most of the Ware-Irarapa basin, creating hazardous air quality conditions. Residents in affected areas are advised to evacuate immediately if instructed by local authorities. Ensure you have your emergency kit ready, including essential items such as water, food, medications, and important documents. Avoid traveling through smoke-filled areas as visibility is poor and air quality is dangerous. All roads connecting the Ware-Irarapa Basin to the Wellington area have been closed to ensure public safety. If you are currently in a safe location, stay indoors to avoid inhaling smoke. Keep windows and doors closed and use air conditioning if available to filter indoor air. The New Zealand Police have issued an order prohibiting entry into any structures not deemed safe by emergency services due to infrastructure damage from the earthquake. Please comply with all directives from emergency personnel and avoid unnecessary travel unless absolutely necessary. We urge everyone to remain vigilant and follow updates from DOC and FENS as the situation develops. Your safety is our priority, and we thank you for your cooperation during this critical time.
Warning. This is a regional seismic activity alert issued by Civil Defence, GeoNet, and the Wellington Regional Council. As of 5:50 am on October 26, 2026, a significant aftershock has been recorded near Karori. This alert is being broadcast across all emergency channels to inform residents of the Wellington area about the ongoing seismic activity and necessary precautions. A powerful aftershock measuring 7.5 on the Richter scale struck at a depth of 30 kilometers, causing further damage to already affected areas, including the CBD and suburban regions. The quake was felt widely across Wellington, from Johnsonville to Island Bay, exacerbating the existing damage from the earthquake yesterday.
Refugee camps set up in response to the quake yesterday around Karori have also been impacted. Residents are advised to remain in safe locations and avoid entering any damaged buildings. Emergency services are conducting assessments, but widespread damage means that many areas remain hazardous. If you are in a structurally sound building, stay there until further notice. For those in temporary shelters or refugee camps, follow instructions from emergency personnel on site. Ensure you have access to emergency supplies such as water, food, and medical necessities. If instructed to evacuate, do so calmly and quickly to designated safe zones. Public transportation is currently suspended in affected areas. Do not attempt to travel unless directed by authorities. Roads may be blocked or unsafe due to debris and infrastructure damage. Use battery-powered radios or mobile devices to stay updated with official announcements. Stay informed through official channels as we continue to monitor the situation closely. Your safety is our priority. Remain vigilant and prepared for further developments. Remember to drop, cover, and hold if you feel intense shaking. Thank you for your attention to this urgent broadcast.
This is One News at 6 a.m., bringing you the latest updates on the aftershock that struck Wellington earlier this morning. At 5:50 a.m., a significant aftershock with a magnitude of 7.5 occurred near Karori at a depth of 30 kilometers. This event has further damaged already devastated areas, including the CBD and suburban regions, and has impacted refugee camps set up in response to yesterday's major earthquake. The aftershock has exacerbated the challenges faced by emergency services as they work tirelessly to assess and respond to the situation. Most of Wellington remains inaccessible, with all flights to the area suspended and travel restrictions in place. A tsunami alert has been issued following this aftershock. However, many areas at risk have already been flooded from previous waves. As of now, 7,400 bodies have been recovered, and the death toll is expected to rise as rescue operations continue. Residents are urged to remain in place until help arrives if safe, and to stay informed through official channels, and follow any instructions from authorities.
This is News Hub with an update of the devastating situation unfolding in Wellington following the massive earthquake that struck yesterday. The initial quake, which registered a magnitude of 9.1, has left the city in ruins, with most areas still inaccessible. As of now, the death toll has tragically risen to 10,600, and emergency services are working tirelessly to locate and assist survivors amidst the rubble. The aftershock this morning further compounded the destruction, causing additional damage to already compromised structures. Footage from the CBD shows widespread flooding in inland areas, exacerbating rescue efforts. The Beehive, Wellington's iconic parliamentary building, has partially collapsed, with its upper levels reduced to rubble and surrounding areas rendered impassable. Te Papa Museum, a cultural landmark, has sustained severe structural damage, with reports of parts of its facade crumbling into the harbour. The suburbs of Kilbirnie and Thorndon have been particularly hard hit, with landslides burying roads and cutting off access to these areas entirely. All flights to Wellington remain suspended, and travel into the area is strictly prohibited except for emergency personnel. Evacuees are being assisted out of the region, but civilians are urged to stay clear as recovery operations continue under challenging conditions. Authorities warn that further aftershocks remain a possibility, adding to the already immense strain on rescue teams. Stay tuned for more updates as we continue to monitor this catastrophic event.
Attention! This is an all-clear broadcast issued by the New Zealand Government and Civil Defence, in conjunction with the Wellington Regional Council. As of 2:30 p.m. on October 27, 2026, it has been deemed safe for residents to return to the Wellington area following recent seismic activity. This broadcast is being transmitted on all regional emergency frequencies. Following the devastating earthquake and subsequent aftershocks, GEONA and GNS Science have confirmed that the risk of further significant aftershocks has diminished. The magnitude 9.1 earthquake and 7.5 aftershock caused extensive damage across Wellington, but current assessments indicate stabilization in seismic activity. Residents are now permitted to return, although caution is still advised. As residents return, it is crucial to avoid entering any structures that have not been officially declared safe. This includes residential properties and commercial buildings in areas such as Lower Hutt CBD, Naini, and Petone. Authorities will continue to assess and secure these locations to ensure public safety. Refugee camps and shelters remain operational for those who need them, with facilities set up at locations such as the Hutt Recreation Ground and Walter Nash Centre. These sites will provide essential services and support as communities begin to rebuild. Residents are encouraged to utilize these resources if their homes are not yet accessible. Compensation measures are being put in place for survivors affected by the quake, with government assistance available for housing repairs and temporary accommodation. Information on how to apply for aid will be distributed through local councils and community centers. Please contact your local authority for further details. The extent of the devastation is significant, with the death toll now standing at 14,600. Infrastructure damage is widespread, affecting transportation networks and essential services throughout the region. Recovery efforts are ongoing, with emergency services prioritizing critical needs and infrastructure restoration. Thank you for your diligent attention to this broadcast.
This is One News at midday, reporting on the nationwide 2-minute silence held this morning to commemorate the 1-month anniversary of the devastating Wellington earthquake. The disaster, which struck on October 25, 2026, resulted in a tragic death toll of 32,670 people, making it the deadliest earthquake in New Zealand's history. The financial impact is staggering, with damages estimated in the hundreds of billions, affecting infrastructure and communities across the region. As Wellington begins its long road to recovery, plans are underway to rebuild and strengthen the city's resilience against future seismic events. Efforts include upgrading infrastructure and implementing more stringent building codes to ensure safety. While much of the city remains in ruins, there is hope for a revitalized Wellington that can withstand potential future earthquakes.